Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new freaking video. Today, a little bit different. Alright, so for today, instead of an in the gym type of video, we are going to be reviewing, in my opinion personally, the lineup for the 11 competitors of the Arnold UK happening this weekend. So, the competition is in 2 days. The time I'm recording this is Wednesday, March 25th, and this is happening on Friday. So 2 days before the competition, I'm going to give my insight on basically who I think should place where and why, and who's obviously going to win, and these reasons for that, and kind of give my overall opinion on this. And if you're wondering, my credentials for this, I don't have any. I haven't competed yet. I plan to compete in a little bit less than a year. I'm currently getting ready to start prep in like that less than a year time frame. But that's basically, I just want to give my general opinion because it's something I enjoy to talk about, and I hope you guys listen to me. But let's get right into it. So if we look here at my list of competitors, I just Googled it. We have George Herrera right here, right? So he's right here, and then we will go to our list that we have here. Going to our list, George Herrera, we have all 11 competitor slots here. So, going to our first George Herrera Instagram page. Now, looking at some recent pictures of him, very solid. He has phenomenal conditioning. I think that's a very positive thing about him, and I think it's something that is to be almost admired in a lot of bodybuilders when it comes to conditioning and being able to have this type of conditioning. So, looking at his physique, he definitely has a very nice frame. I believe he's on the shorter end, just looking at his build, like his quad insertions and his calves, given how short they are almost. He has very short arms, as you can see here, very full muscle bellies here, nice lats. His waist could, obviously this is genetic, but it kind of throws him off a little bit. I think where he loses, in my opinion, where he would lose points is in his waist. And if you look here on the back, you can kind of see how obviously massive his arms are and his rear delts here. But he kind of loses points for not having the classic type of frame, because instead of his lats kind of crossing in here, they kind of flatten out near his waist region. But his back in general is extremely dug out. Look at his hamstrings. But I do believe that's just where he's going to lose a lot of points, is in the back. Like his chest, very full. His side pose, phenomenal. There's some other pictures here. This is obviously better lighting. His shoulder development is immaculate. But overall, he has a very classic physique. It's just in his back, and as you can see here, like, he would lose some points for posing, but where we can see where he placed here, he made the top 12, but he came 12th place, right? So this wasn't too long ago. I believe this was just from the last Olympia. This was from Chris Bumstead's last Olympia, I believe. So 2 years ago. Obviously improvements have been made. Significant improvements. Like, this was him for the Arnold Classic. Obviously he looks diced. This was him at the Arnold. He looks very well. I personally only just found out about him while looking at the stack up for the Arnold UK. But seeing this, he has a very solid physique, but just in my opinion, he'll lose points in that waist region, just with it being ever so slightly wider. But with that, our picture of George right here. This is the picture we have on our ranking list. For now, he's not going to win, but I would probably rank George around 9th place. This list will vary quite a bit here, but for right now I have George at 9th place just because he's our first one we're looking at. But next up on the list here, we have Ethan Gohari. Now, some of these names, I don't know if I'm pronouncing them right, but Ethan Gohari. So let's take a look at his physique and his Instagram page. Should be right here, Ethan Gohari. So these are some pinned posts of his. Okay, this was 13 days out from the Arnold in Ohio. So wow, he looks very good. That's a crazy vein going down his leg right there. But very conditioned. Can I find a picture from the Arnold? Okay. This is from Detroit. I'm assuming the Detroit Pro. But okay, this is good. Ethan's right here, standing next to Wesley Vissers, who recently won the Arnold this year. So if we look here, again, he loses to Wesley Vissers, as you can clearly see here. I believe he came second in this show, but I think he lost just because of his back. Again, somebody whose back is like, you can see here in the picture how his waist still kind of goes out, and Wesley Visser just dominates with his super wide shoulders and small waist, and his lats are insane. But yeah, he really just gets stalked by his height. I don't know if he's at his weight cap yet for Classic. I don't quite know yet, but his abs and obliques remind me a lot of Hadi Chupon, and the way he has like really like shredded abs and like perfectly symmetrical. But yeah, he also loses a couple marks in the legs here. Can't really get a good shot of his legs from the front. From the front, at least, I would say he loses a little bit, but from the side, you can see his hamstring and his glute comes out really nicely here, and that's where he dominates on them. And he gets really close to Wesley Vissers here, but Wesley kind of takes the win here. They're a little bit more dug out. Like they look overall a bit better. And you can see Wesley just has insane quads. But compared to George, where's our picture of Ethan? Ethan right here. If we're comparing this picture to George, I would say they would place very closely. I would put him just above George, because I believe that in the abdominal department is where Ethan is going to take the win here. Because if we go back to George, we can see that he doesn't really have, like, they have very similar midsections, but from the side, I believe Ethan is just going to destroy him there. And especially from the back, they have a very similar build when doing a back double bicep. But I do think that Ethan takes the win there. So going back to here, Ethan, we're going to put Ethan in 8th place right now. Okay. Now, obviously, like I said, this list will change. This is just for right now, like current rankings. But next up on our list of Classic Physique competitors, we have Hang Niu. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Hang has a very interesting physique in my opinion. I don't inherently think it's bad. Like, this is his Instagram page. I do think, okay, we can see this is him when he's a little bit bigger, bulked up. That's not him. But based on these pictures here, I don't think he will place very well. Mainly, number one, due to his height, he looks to be very short. Now, not meaning that in a bad way, but in this case, his limbs look very short. His abdominal and bicep insertions don't seem like they can compete with somebody like Wesley Vissers, who I believe is 6'3", 6'2". But his conditioning is very nice. As you can see in his back, his lower back is very nice. His hamstrings are dug out. His glutes look very nice. I believe there could be a little more better conditioning, but it could be the lighting of the tan. Like, those things do make a difference. But yeah, I just don't think he'll be able to compete with the abdominal and biceps here. Like, even here, they just look super flat. So strictly because of that, I would place him lower on this list. So here, I would probably place him at 11th place. Just for that reason, I don't think he can compete with any of these other competitors. But saying that, he doesn't have a bad physique. He looks amazing. All of these guys do. But I just don't think that he can compete at the same level as somebody like Wesley Vissers. So, moving on, we have somebody who I am very excited to see move up in this industry, and that is Andrea Mamoli. Andrea Mamoli. This guy is probably currently one of my favorite competing bodybuilders. So this guy, right? He recently competed at the Arnold US in Ohio, and he won Best Poser for a reason. If we look at this guy's conditioning, he looks absolutely insane, right? Like, obviously this is a really good picture, but even if we scroll down this picture, he looks nuts, and his symmetry is like out of this world. And you can really see in this picture why he won Best Poser, which came with a $10,000 check too, by the way. But even here, you can see how he activates his chest, his biceps, his tricep here on the side, his glute, and his hamstring all in one shot. And like, that's insanely hard to do. And from the back too, you can see how he's got the big shoulders and the small waist. He has a very complete build for classic physique. And even here, this was him leading up to the Arnold. You can just see how insanely lean he is and dug out, and the frame through his lats to his legs. You can really see how some people have like their arms will go out and then their lats and their legs almost act as like the rest of the X, right? So it goes like that, where it goes your arms and then your legs at the bottom split, which Andrea Mamoli has, and he's absolutely insane. He's one of my favorite current competing bodybuilders for a reason. Like, look at this. Look at that vacuum too. Having a vacuum like that is so insanely like impressive and honestly rare. You don't see a lot of bodybuilders be able to do that, competing at this type of level. So, being that with Andrea Mamoli, this is the picture we use, one of my favorites. For right now, we're going to put him at 4th place, which is, I think, respectable until we start rearranging the list here. But 4th place, I think he'll do amazing at this show. But next up on our list, we have, and I hope I pronounce this right, Joaquin Camps Angel. I don't really know how to pronounce the name. I do apologize for that. But on here, it just says Kim Angel. So we're going to go with that. Now, looking at his physique, he has a very interesting physique. Okay? If we look here, this is a posing video of his on his Instagram. Yeah, you can just see he looks amazing for classic physique. He really has that. You can see from the side he's got the type of, like really shredded abs. But from the back here, I do believe there's a lack in, I don't know if this makes sense, but almost like dug outness in his back, right? Oh, excuse me. So, looking at this video from the Arnold, I believe he placed fairly well. And yeah, you can see when doing his, just popping out his lats in the front lat spread, he looks immaculate. I do believe that he beat out Andrea Mamoli, but look at this. He just did phenomenally. I do think in the abdominal department, though, he loses some points here, just because they almost look torn in a sense. Have you guys ever seen torn biceps or torn abs like this? Like, here's obviously a better picture of him. In that picture, it looks very weird. I don't know why. But, yeah, like, he looks phenomenal. Obviously, like, yeah, he looks amazing. So, with this type of physique, I would hope he plays very well at the Arnold. I don't believe he's going to the Olympia yet. I think he's had qualifications. Yeah, so he went to the 2024 Olympia and the 2025 Olympia, which is really cool. But going to our list, he has phenomenal conditioning, amazing shape. Like, he has almost a bigger Andrea Mamoli type of vibe to him. So, that being, I think that he would place a little bit higher than him. So, for right now, we're going to put him at 3. Just because I do believe that they bring the same type of package, being a full X frame. Like, there are some poses where I think that Andre will win against Kim here, and I do think it is going to be in the back double bicep department, mainly because I think Andre Mamoli has one of the most shredded types of physiques that you even see nowadays in bodybuilding, and just that being even this picture here is insane, and I just think that he will do wonders against. This is gonna be a very interesting lineup here. So that being, we're gonna put him at third place, just beating Andre Mamoli right now. So, next up on our list, we have Matthews Menegate. I really hope I'm pronouncing these right, but Menegate, I believe, right here. So, as we can see, wow, very nice. I do believe there could be better posing. I believe this is a posing issue in the glutes and the hamstrings, but looking at this, we can see, obviously this is a picture of him and Andre Mamoli and Kim right here. But even looking at these types of photos, you can see that there's not really a lot of glute activation happening there. He actually resembles C-Bum a lot in some of these poses. In this one, I do believe that his front kind of lat flare is probably one of his weaker poses compared to this. This abdominal pose is just mental, how it almost looks like his abs go out and then come right in, right there, which looks phenomenal. This vacuum is insane. Reminds me a lot of Frank Zane, actually, but he looks phenomenal here. I do believe that with this type of conditioning, if he can honestly work on the glute type of flexing a little bit more, which, mind you, I haven't competed yet, so take what I say with kind of a grain of salt, but I do think that he looks absolutely phenomenal, even here at the Arnold. Yeah, you can just see, and him next. Here we have Andre Mamoli here too. So we have actually the last three people we've looked at. We have Andre Mamoli, we have Kim, and we have Menegate, right? So what is his actual name? Matthias, okay? So we have Matthias here. We have the three of them standing next to Wesley Vissers. Wesley Vissers who won, and he came second. And I believe that he came second for shape and size, honestly, because when looking at this, you can really see how it was close between these three. Obviously, he looks a little bit wider here. Andre obviously brings the conditioning. He always does. I've been following him for the last couple months. He looks phenomenal all the time. But even just here, the biceps and everything, the fluidity of his physique, I think it looks phenomenal. I think he'll do very well at his next show, which is the Arnold UK. So I think for that reason, I think we're going to put him at second for right now, considering... Actually, we're going to rearrange this list a little bit here. I do think it'll go a little bit more like this, because I don't think he's going to beat Mike Sommerfeld, if I'm being honest, or Wesley Vissers. But, that being said, going on to our next competitor, we have Paul Kanu. Oh, no, we don't. We have Vahid Badpay, which I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay, so we have Vahid Badpay, which I hope I'm pronouncing it right, and I'm sorry if I'm not. But it was very hard to find a good picture of him. I believe this is the picture I used. So looking here, he has almost a short torso is what this looks like. So from that picture, he has a lot of videos that, if we even look through this, you can see that his torso almost looks a little bit short like that, compressed almost, you could say. But even that being, you can even just see here how his lats are already flaring out. Very nice abs. This guy gets in the way a little bit, but you can see he looks very nice, obviously. Unbelievable physique. But you can even see the lack in the hamstring drop there. I don't believe he will beat out Andre Mamoli. I think just due to size. This was him at the Olympia. which obviously I think he looks great, but I just honestly think that Andre is going to bring the conditioning and size to not only the Arnold, but I hope he qualifies for the Olympia this year, because I do think that he's going to do amazing, and I think he's going to do wonderful things at this Olympia this year, and it's truly going to be something to remember. Like, honestly, he's just amazing. But I think going up against Vahid here, I think he takes the win, being Vahid will lose against... so we're going to put him against Andre. So we're going to put him at 6th place for right now. Now, we're down to the last 4, right? And this is a lot. This is quite the gap here. So, obviously, we're going to change up this list a little bit here. But going over to our next contestant in the show, we have Paul Kanu. Kanu? I think it's Kanu. But going over to Paul Kanu, right here. So, as we can see, he looks phenomenal. I think he has a lot of potential looking at him. Like, even just this, he reminds me a lot of a younger type of Samson Dauda, almost, a little bit. Just because of, like, the tight, look at his quads and his biceps. He has very nice insertions. His lats look immaculate. I would like to know what place he came in. So, we are going to check and see what place he came in right now. So if we go here and we look at the placing, at the Arnold, so we can see here he placed 9th in the Classic Physique division, which I think is kind of crazy. In my opinion, I would not have him at 9th place, but I think it must come from his hamstrings, because I can't see how this physique placed 9th, honestly. Even looking here, his hamstrings look nice. It could also be a conditioning thing. He doesn't look very conditioned. I do think if he can really nail in that type of conditioning and bring the package needed, I do believe he has the shape, the size, the posing to do extremely well. So, strictly based on that, we are going to put him at 7th place, just above. We're going to put him a little bit lower. We're going to put him at 9th place for right now, just because unless he really dials in that conditioning, I don't think he will place above these people who already competed against him and won. So really the only thing I can see is if he really nails that conditioning, which I think he can. And even just looking at this, like, he has extreme potential, especially in his lower body. Like, his lats flare out. He looks immaculate. But over that, let's look at some of our top 3 right here. So we have Sam Sulek. Now, a lot of controversy about him when it comes to bodybuilding, because people kind of know him for his name and not really for bodybuilding in general, right? Like, people know him for, obviously he's very famous on YouTube. He looks amazing. I think he has a lot of potential, and I think a lot of people disregard that, because even here, he doesn't have a lot of pictures. Like, he posts not very frequent, but when he does, they are really tapped in pictures. Like, you can see how shredded he gets. He is self-coached, and a ton of respect goes out to him, the fact that he can even do this, and you can see how funny some of the comments are. But, excuse me, just looking at some of these that were like weeks out, like he was almost 2 months out here, he looks amazing, right? Like, you can't beat this type of thing. Like, even when he won his pro card, he looked amazing. Obviously, posing wasn't on point, and posing wasn't really on point at this Olympia either, but I do think it was a huge step up, and I think he has the possibility to break, I believe he came 8th place, but to break the top 10 or top 5 very soon if he can nail in posing and size. But for Sam, considering a lot of these guys placed higher than he did. I genuinely do not think that he's going to place better than these people, strictly due to posing. And I mean, he's only been in the sport for so long, so I think that'll push him. I do think that he'll beat Paul if it really comes down to it and he can nail a posing, strictly because of shape and things like that. But that's my opinion. I'm going to be honest, I'm slightly biased towards Sam just because I can see the potential he has with his physique and the type of things that he can bring. Like, even just looking here at his waist, you can see how it really caves down, and you can see even when he does a vacuum. Like I said, looks a lot like Frank Zane in his famous vacuum picture. He just looks amazing. But I do think he will come a little bit lower on this tier list. Now, going on to the big two, Mike Sommerfeld. Now, this is a hard one to compare against because we have Mike Sommerfeld and Wesley Vissers. Now, Wesley Vissers won the 2026 Arnold that just passed, and then he went on to win the Detroit Pro, which is crazy. 2 back-to-back shows like that. Mike Sommerfeld didn't compete in the 26 Arnold Classic because he did not make weight. Now, this has been a huge thing with Mike, that he has been lying about his height, saying he's 5'9" when he's really 5'7", which makes a huge difference in the bodybuilding world because of things like weight caps. So obviously if he was 5'9", I believe it's 212, I believe it's 212 he'd be able to weigh, but with him being under 5'8", I believe that puts him in like the 198 range. Don't quote me on that. But looking at his physique, phenomenal. If he can bring this type of size, and he has one of the best shapes in all of bodybuilding. Like, if we're being completely honest, there's a reason he came second to Chris Bumstead, and I believe that with this type of look, even just here, obviously I've always been a critic of Mike just because of his back. I've always found it just looks like not what the judges are looking for, but when he really comes down to leanness, his bicep peaks really show more. He really shows every part of his back, and it really gives that classic look. And just look at his rear delts, like, they're huge, dug out glutes and hamstrings. He truly has the classic physique. But in saying that, we go over to Wesley Vissers. Now, Wesley brought a phenomenal package to the 26 Arnold and the Detroit Pro. Now, he has one of the craziest builds, in my opinion, because I've never seen somebody with rib flare like this. Because, excuse me, but seeing his ribs go out so high and so wide almost, it gives the illusion that, like, he doesn't have any ribs, if that makes sense. And it's super weird, but it goes so well with his lat insertions being so, like, out like wings like this, and that his bicep peaks are so nice, and they go so well with his legs. And let's see if we can find a video or a picture of him from his back. Like, even looking at the back like this, like his rear delts and his lats going to his waist, like, he has a minuscule waist, and it's truly, like, insane. And this is what I mean about his ribs there. I do believe that is one of the only points that this is the Detroit Pro, right? So even him winning this with this look is insane. And I do think it'll come down to the legs for Mr. Wesley Vissers, because I don't think his legs can compete against Mike Sommerfeld's. Because even if we look at these two pictures, right, obviously they're both shredded dudes, but if we look, Mike just has the size in the legs, right, which makes this such a close comparison in this case. And I do believe that Mike could just win with the legs themselves, which is why, for right now, I would put Mike Sommerfeld at first place and Wesley Vissers at second place. strictly because when looking at this, like, I just see the legs are going to be an issue on stage. I obviously think that he will beat out Matthias like this because he just has the shape over him, and so does Mike. But if Mike doesn't come in and tip top, I think that Wesley Vissers can really take the win here. But I think it'll really come down to that. And Wesley Vissers is now already qualified for the Olympia. So if he comes in second, it's not really a big deal for him. But if he wins, I believe Mike will have to compete again, which will probably be at the Prague Pro before the Olympia. I think that takes place before the Olympia. I'll have to check. But I do think that that'll take him like a... it'll make it harder for him to compete for the Olympia. But so far, that is my top, like, all 11 competitors competing in the Arnold. I got this list on Google, so I'm hoping it's right. Most of these, I don't know about him. But anyways, going over this list, I do think he will stay in last place like this. I think Paul just doesn't have the conditioning to be higher placed than Sam Sulek. Sam will just win over the conditioning aspect. But in saying that, we get over to some of the bigger guys here, like George Herrera versus Ethan Gohari. Ethan will win here, I believe, just from the abdominal position, being that they both have such similar builds and like almost have like a stockier type of physique build. I do think it'll come very close to them being in the 7th and 8th place range, because it's not only about size, it's about the symmetry of the physique. And I think that Vahid will beat them by the slightest bit if he can come in a little bit more shredded than they can, just because given that his waist is almost more compact, it gives that more full look to the lats when he does a front lat spread, and I think that'll be a dominating pose for him. Now, cracking the top 5, Andre Mamoli. I will always have a huge amount of respect for this guy. He looks amazing, and I just think that he has phenomenal and amazing potential in the sport. And I believe he's not very old. I don't think he's that old. I think he's in his 20s, which is amazing. He has an amazing physique, but I just don't think he can compete with the top 4, being Kim Angel will outsize him. Similar conditions, similar shape, but it will come down to size with those two, like even here, right? So we can see that. And then top 3, Matthias, I still believe will beat Kim. Just similar to the Arnold Ohio. It's just how it's going to go. It'll come down to shape, in which he will win. And with Mike and Wesley, it will come down to the legs. I'm calling it right now. Mark the day, March 25th. If Mike does not come in perfectly on his conditioning, it will go to Wesley Vissers if he can stay locked in for this show. That will be lights out for Mike. I swear it will. It will happen. Okay? But that is my ranking for the 2026 Arnold UK, which is a qualifier for the Olympia. But those are my rankings. I know this is kind of a different style of video. That kind of wraps up my rankings. But I know, like I was saying, I know this is kind of a different style of video, which I don't know if you guys can notice from my last YouTube video I recorded on my computer. This is a bit of a different setup. So I kind of have like a little studio going on down here, and I have my camera set up and everything going on down here. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this style of content. If so, I would love to make more. I just had a great time yapping about bodybuilders. I love to do it. But I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.